Greetings, and welcome to compliance training for Tyler Junior College. Today's topic, training for responsible employees under Title IX. Andrew Cantey currently serves as a compliance officer for Tyler Junior College and is the Title IX coordinator. You can reach him at 1327 South Baxter Avenue, Tyler, Texas 75701, by phone 903-510-2186, or by email acan2@tjc.edu. This training is intended to comply with requirements of Title IX of the Educational Amendments of 1972, the reauthorized Violence Against Women Act, the Jeanne Clery Act, guidance documents on Title IX issued by the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, and the White House Task Force to protect students from sexual assault. Sexual violence and sexual misconduct information can be found on the TJC website. Please refer to TJC's Title IX web pages on the tjc.edu website. Refer to these pages for a complete description of definitions, contact information, reporting guidelines, and resources for victims of sexual misconduct. Forms for filing complaints may also be found on the TJC website. Title IX of the Higher Education Amendments of 1972 states, "No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance." Title IX prohibits sex-based discrimination, sexual harassment, as well as rape, sexual assault, and all forms of sexual violence. Title IX applies to everyone: female, male, and gender nonconforming students, faculty, staff, visitors, and, if there is an impact on access to educational programs or activities, third parties as well, where both on and off campus, and to everything: academics, sports, studying abroad, residence life, and social activities. Title IX requires that once a school has actual or constructive notice of sexual violence or harassment, it must take immediate and appropriate steps to investigate and take prompt and effective action to end the harassment, remedy its effects, and prevent it from occurring again. The college is considered to have notice when an individual files a complaint, either internally or externally, when an individual makes a report to the Title IX coordinator, or an individual makes a report to a responsible employee. Also considered where harassment is widespread, openly visible, or well known on campus, when a responsible employee witnesses sexual harassment or violence, and when a responsible employee receives indirect notice from the news media, online postings, or another employee. What are prompt and effective actions to end the conduct, remedy its effects, and prevent it from occurring again? This may include interim measures to ensure the victim's safety, such as temporary suspension of the accused from residence halls or campus, no contact orders, separating the accused and the victim in living or workspaces, academic adjustments, counseling, or escorts. The college is also responsible, when a complaint is filed, to investigate and resolve the complaint. This may include discipline and sanctions, and prevention and awareness training. TJC has a legal obligation to respond. Tyler Junior College revised their Equal Opportunity Plan, the E, to expand the prohibition against discrimination, discriminatory harassment, and retaliation to include the prohibition of all forms of sexual harassment and sexual violence, gender-based harassment, domestic and dating violence, stalking, and rape or statutory rape. The following are sexual violence policy training definitions. First, affirmative consent. Consent is Words or actions showing clear, knowing, and voluntary agreement to engage in a specific sexual activity during a sexual encounter, or an affirmative, unambiguous, and voluntary decision given by clear actions or words. Consent is also saying yes with both your body and words. It is given while sober and clearly communicated. Consent may not be inferred from silence, passivity, or lack of active resistance alone. Consent may not be inferred from a current or previous dating or sexual relationship. Sex without consent is sexual assault. Use of force, intimidation, or coercion is a denial of a person's right to freely give his or her consent. Even if someone has agreed to engage sexually, that person has a right to withdraw their consent at any time. An individual who is incapacitated by alcohol and/or drugs, both voluntarily or involuntarily consumed, may not give consent. Sexual harassment and sexual violence are forms of sex discrimination defined as unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, sexually motivated physical, verbal, or nonverbal conduct, or other conduct or communication of a sexual nature when submission to the conduct is either explicitly or implicitly a condition of an employee's employment, or when submission to or rejection of the conduct is the basis for an employment action affecting the employee, or the conduct is so severe, persistent, or pervasive that it has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with the employee's work performance or creates an intimidating, threatening, hostile, or offensive work environment. Examples of sexual harassment may include sexual advances, touching intimate body parts, coercing or forcing a sexual act on another, jokes or conversations of a sexual nature, and other sexually motivated conduct, communication, or contact. Gender-based harassment. Gender-based harassment is verbal or physical conduct that denigrates or shows hostility or aversion toward an employee, student, or group of employees or students because of their gender, and that has the purpose or effect of creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work or academic environment, has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with an individual's performance of duties or studies, or otherwise adversely affects an individual's employment or academic opportunities. Harassing conduct includes epithets, slurs, negative stereotyping, threatening, intimidating, or hostile acts that relate to gender, and written or graphic material that denigrates or shows hostility or aversion toward an individual or group because of gender that is placed on walls, bulletin boards, or elsewhere on college district premises, or that is circulated in the workplace. Domestic and dating violence. Domestic and dating violence are acts of abusive or coercive behavior, physical, sexual, financial, verbal, and/or emotional, used by a perpetrator to gain or exercise control over another, including any behaviors that intimidate, manipulate, humiliate, isolate, frighten, threaten, blame, hurt, injure, or wound someone. Domestic and dating violence can occur in relationships between persons of any gender. Domestic violence is such behavior directed against a current or former spouse, family member, blood, step, adoptive, or foster, person with whom a child is shared, or cohabitant, possibly a roommate. Dating violence is such behavior directed against another person in a social relationship of a romantic or intimate nature, and where the existence of such a relationship is determined based on a consideration of the length and type of relationship, and frequency of interaction between the persons involved. Stalking. Engaging in a course of harassing, threatening, or unwanted behavior that would cause a reasonable person to suffer substantial emotional distress or fear for their safety or the safety of others. Stalking may occur in a range of formats including, but not limited to, in-person conduct, writings, texting, voicemail, email, social media, following someone with a global position system, or GPS, and video or audio recording. Sexual violence. As defined by OCR, sexual violence refers to physical sexual acts perpetrated against a person's will or where a person is incapable of giving consent, such as due to a person's age or the use of drugs or alcohol, or because an intellectual or other disability prevents the person from having the capacity to give consent. Rape and statutory rape. Rape is the penetration, no matter how slight, of the vagina or anus of a person by any body part of another person or by an object, or the mouth of a person by a sex organ of another person without that person's consent. Rape is also the performance of oral sex or anal sex on another person without that person's consent. Statutory rape is sexual intercourse with a person who is under the statutory age of consent, which is 17 in Texas. Retaliation. Tyler Junior College prohibits retaliation against any person for making an internal or external complaint of prohibited conduct, for assisting in making a complaint, for resisting or openly opposing such conduct, or for otherwise using or participating in the investigation process. Prohibited retaliation includes threats, intimidation, reprisals, harassment or misconduct, slander and libel, and adverse actions related to employment or education. Retaliation can be committed by individuals or groups, including friends, relatives, or other associates of the accused. Retaliation, even in the absence of proven prohibited conduct in an underlying complaint, is a violation that is just as serious as the main offense. 3 reporting options exist. 1. Making no report. 2. Confidential options. And 3. Non-confidential options. Making no report. Victims have the right not to make a report to anyone, but TJC strongly encourages victims to seek medical attention, counseling, and support. Victims are always welcome to make a report at a later date, but delays in reporting tend to weaken the necessary evidence to determine whether the accused is found responsible for the prohibited conduct. Confidential reporting options. Clergy, licensed counselors, and licensed medical or health care providers may withhold identifying personal details when acting in their licensed capacities. They should still provide non-personally identifiable information. Secondly, there is anonymous reporting. Non-confidential reporting options include governmental reporting through the U.S. Department of Education or the Office of Civil Rights and the U.S. Department of Justice. Campus reporting includes to the Title IX coordinator or campus safety or other responsible employees. Criminal reporting would include campus safety or local police. Victims are never required to report to the police. If the victim chooses to report, TJC will assist. What does all of this have to do with me? Why am I sitting here? You are a responsible employee. Certain employees are required to report incidents of sexual and gender-based harassment, sexual violence, domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking to the Title IX coordinator. Responsible employees also known as REs, are those with supervisory responsibilities or the authority to address or remediate misconduct, or those whom students might reasonably believe have such supervisory responsibility or authority. Who are the REs at the college? Members of the Board of Trustees, the President and Vice Presidents, Assistant and Associate Vice Presidents, Title IX Coordinator and Deputy Coordinators, Campus Police, anyone a student reasonably believes has the ability to address the situation and prevent recurrence, departmental directors and assistant or associate directors, residence life staff, including RDs and RAs, athletic coaches, assistant coaches, and athletic administrators, lab managers, deans and assistant or associate deans, academic department chairs, academic and non-academic program directors and coordinators, faculty and staff leading or chaperoning travel or overnight trips, and faculty and staff advisors to student organizations. What is an RE's job? To promptly place incidents of sexual and gender-based harassment, sexual violence, dating and domestic violence, stalking and related retaliation into the hands of college personnel with the training and experience to handle them. What are a victim's expectations of an RE? When a victim tells a responsible employee about an incident, they expect the college to take immediate and appropriate steps to investigate what happened and resolve the matter promptly and equitably. As a responsible employee, you have a duty to inform victims. You also have a duty to report to the Title IX coordinator. What is an RE's duty to inform? Before a person reveals information that she or he may wish to keep confidential, an RE should make every effort to ensure that the victim understands the following things. 1. The RE's obligation to report to the Title IX coordinator names and relevant facts such as the date, time, and location. 2. The option to request that the college maintain confidentiality or make no investigation, which the college will consider. And 3. The option to report the incident confidentially by speaking to counseling, health services, clergy, or pastoral counselors. The RE must also inform the victim that she or he is entitled to support services, and inform the victim that the college prohibits retaliation. What if a victim requests confidentiality or no investigation? If the victim wants to tell the RE what happened, but also maintain confidentiality or ask that no investigation occur, the RE should tell the victim that the college will consider the request, but cannot guarantee that the college will be able to honor it. In reporting the details of the incident to the Title IX coordinator, the responsible employee must inform the coordinator of the victim's request for confidentiality and/or no investigation. What is an RE's duty to report? A responsible employee must immediately report incidents of sexual violence, sexual or gender-based harassment, domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and/or retaliation that are reported to them, which they observe or which they learn about, to the Title IX coordinator. What must be included in the report? The responsible employee's name, position, and contact information, the date, time, and location of incident, the date the incident was reported to the responsible employee, the name and contact information of the victim or other party who reported the incident, the name and contact information of the accused, if known, a description of the incident, as much factual detail as possible, names of witnesses, if available, whether the complainant has requested confidentiality, whether other offices are involved, that is, has the victim reported the incident to anyone else on campus, to the police, or to an outside agency, and how the responsible employee left the matter with the victim. How should a responsible employee make a report? Confidentially. An RE is obligated to inform the Title IX coordinator and only the Title IX coordinator. The information shared by the victim is confidential and should not be disclosed to anyone else on campus. A responsible employee should encourage the victim to report the incident to law enforcement when appropriate. What does the college do with the report? The Title IX coordinator will determine whether further action is necessary in order to ensure the safety of the victim and the community. If the Title IX coordinator determines further action is necessary, the victim will be informed and protected from retaliation. The Title IX coordinator will contact the victim to answer any questions, discuss support options, and address any safety concerns. The Title IX coordinator will ensure that appropriate interim measures are implemented. A victim's personal information will be shared only as necessary and consistently with state and federal law, with investigators, witnesses, and the accused, with college officials or interim measures or for interim measures or victim accommodations, and when required to be disclosed by law. A note about minors on campus. When an employee has reasonable cause to believe that a child 17 or younger is suffering from sexual abuse on campus or campus-owned or controlled property, the employee must contact campus police. An employee may also directly contact law enforcement in cases of suspected abuse or neglect. Campus police, who are in contact with other officials, shall contact the Department of Family and Protective Services and/or outside law enforcement. Also, if an employee has reasonable cause to believe that an elderly or disabled person is suffering injury from abuse on campus or campus-owned or controlled property, the employee must also contact campus police. Duties to minors. Statutory duty to report to administration and state agency if a child is a minor. This duty goes beyond age 18 if the person is disabled. Penn State policy on minors is a great resource should questions arise regarding what steps you need to take. Accommodating pregnant students. TJC's policy allows students with pregnancy or other temporary disabilities to have until 30 days into the next long semester to complete their work after a medical necessity excused absence. Students must provide proof of medical necessity from a doctor or midwife stating the length of leave necessary. If additional leave is sought, the student should provide further proof of medical necessity beyond the original period. Once the leave expires, the student is expected to be back in class. Federal law requires accommodations be made in addition to TJC's efforts to allow students with temporary disabilities enjoyment of the educational opportunities provided to all students. The student must be reinstated to the status she held when the leave began, and the Title IX coordinator should be contacted when an accommodation request from a pregnant and/or parenting student is received. The Title IX coordinator should oversee the process of receiving and reviewing necessary medical documentation and determining if and what accommodations are necessary. Options for completing coursework include retaking the class at the next available offering. Students should be made aware that class offerings vary by program and may not be available at regular intervals. They may take the course online. They may receive an incomplete and extend the course until 30 days into the next long semester. The 30-day time frame may need to be shortened or lengthened depending upon the length of time missed due to medical necessity and what is reasonable under the circumstances. Professors should work with students to establish timelines, be available to meet and answer questions, and make arrangements for any hands-on or face-to-face course requirements. The student should be allowed to choose how to make up the work. All responsible employees should be aware that there is a Title IX anonymous reporting hotline. That number is 903-533-5599. Instances of sexual assault or sexual harassment may be reported confidentially. The following information will assist in conducting the investigation: date, time, and location of the incident, date you became aware of the incident, name and contact information of the victim, if comfortable sharing, name and contact information of the accused, detailed description of the incident, and names of potential witnesses. Students should also be made aware of this anonymous reporting hotline. In case of emergency situations, call 911 or Campus Police 903-510-2222. If you have additional questions regarding Title IX or the duties of a responsible employee, contact Andrew Cantey, Tyler Junior College Compliance Officer and Title IX Coordinator. You have now completed Title IX training for responsible employees. Be sure to complete the quiz in order to receive credit for this course. You must score 70% or higher on the quiz to obtain credit. Thank you.